So what is cache memory? Let's begin with the basics. Cache memory is a small but very fast type of memory that's located close to the CPU. Its job is to store frequently accessed data and instructions so the CPU doesn't have to wait for the slower main memory every time. This makes programs in Y run faster and more smoothly. Why use cache? Now you might wonder, why do we need cache at all? Well, RAM is slower than the CPU and that can cause delays. Cache helps bridge this gap. It does this by taking advantage of temporal locality, meaning data that was just used while probably being used again soon, and spatial locality, where data near the current location is likely to be needed next. Cache mapping techniques. To store and retrieve data efficiently, cache uses different mapping techniques. The three main types are: one, direct mapping; second, fully associative mapping; lastly, set associative mapping. Let's go through each one of them. Direct mapping. Each in direct mapping, each block of memory can only go to one specific cache line. The address is split into three parts, which are a tag, an index, and an offset. Sorry. It's simple and fast to implement, but it has a major drawback. If two memory blocks map to the same line, you get a lot of conflict misses, even if the cache isn't full. The second one, which is fully associative mapping. In fully associative mapping, a memory block can go into any cache line. This removes the problem fixed mapping and reduce conflict misses. However, the downside is that it's slower and more complex because the system has to compare the tag with every line in the cache. The third, which is the set associative mapping. Finally, we have set associative mapping, which is a mix of the first two techniques. Here, the cache is divided into sets and each set contains multiple lines, for example, two-way or four-way. A block maps a block maps to a specific set, but it can go into any line within the set. This technique balances speed and flexibility. Slide in the slide comparison of caching caching techniques. Okay, so I'll just explain whatever this figure here means. So here's a comparison of the three techniques. Direct mapping is fast and simple but not flexible. Fully associative is the most flexible but also the slowest and most complex. Set associative sits in the middle and is commonly used in modern processors but of its good balance. Cache miss types. Let's talk about cache misses. Situation when the data is not found in a cache, there are three types. One is the composite miss, happens the first time data is accessed. The other one is the conflict misses, when two or more blocks compete for the same cache line. Lastly, the capacity miss, when the cache is too small to hold all the needed data. Cache write policy. When the CPU writes data, the cache follows one or two main policy. One is write through. The data is written to both cache and RAM at the same time. Another one is write back. The data is written only to cache at first and RAM is updated later. In write back mode, we use a dirty bit to keep track of modified data that hasn't been saved to main memory. And to summarize it all, cache memory is essential for high speed, data access in computer systems. Different mapping techniques help manage how data is stored in cache. Each has its own pros and cons, and understanding these techniques is key to optimizing CPU performance. So this brings me an end to this short lecture. Thank you for watching this presentation on caching techniques. I hope it helped you understand how cache works and why they matter in computer architecture. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. This presentation was presented by Friends Anima.